Audi seems to have devised a new strategy to increase footfall at its showrooms. What they've done is come up with a new naming convention for their variant lineup. So gone is the simple to understand 3.0 TDI, 3.2 TFSI, etc. and in comes the more ridiculous 30 TDI, 35 TDI, 40 TDI, 45 TDI, etc. So to understand exactly how it works, I had to actually go to an Audi showroom, and the poor sales guy out there had to use a reckoner to actually explain me what the formula was to deduce these numbers. In vain, of course. Anyway, for this particular car though, they are keeping the naming quite simple. They are calling it the RS7 Sportback Performance. So this is the performance version of the A7. Still too complicated? Let me try and simplify it for you. The A7 is a four-door coupe based on the A6, but its beautiful sweeping lines demanded a sportier version, and so was born the RS7 Sportback. We drove this car a couple of years back and were completely blown away by its straight-line performance. It lived up to its claim of being the most powerful production Audi around. But then the car maker thought, why stop at that? Let's add more power, more torque and more top speed. And so we have this, the RS7 Performance. Its 4-litre TFSI V8 now revs up to 200 RPM higher, and while doing so, it also puts out about 45 PS more power, taking the total to 605 PS. And that makes it just a tiny bit shy of making the claim of being the world's most powerful production Audi. That crown now belongs to the new Audi R8 V10 Plus. But the RS7 Performance does not give up easily. The additional power has lowered the sprint times by 0.2 seconds. So it will go from standstill to 100 in 3.7 seconds. And those are not just claim figures. In fact, we managed the exact same figures in the first go itself on our test equipment. But quite frankly, I'm not too astonished with those figures, because the TT RS that I drove last week manages the same figures again, with a 2.5-litre engine and 200 lesser horses. Of course, the TTRS is a pint-sized sport car, while this is a 2-ton, 4-seater, 4-door coupe. So while the numbers are commendable, the way it achieves them isn't very dramatic. The TTRS feels fast, all cylinders firing, everything working towards giving you that edge-of-the-seat entertainment. This car achieves everything effortlessly, and in that it loses some of the drama that you expect from a car of this category. Even listen to that exhaust note. You're building up speed, you know that the scenery is changing from faster, you know you're going fast. But this car behaves as if it's just peacefully fluttering around. It even looks the part, with its new matrix headlamps giving it a smug face, the kind who would not even acknowledge your presence. I ain't kidding, the steering system. The way it precisely obeys all your orders, you know it can communicate, but it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to give you any feedback, doesn't want to tell you which wheel is doing what. And therefore the front end tends to feel a little floaty even if you're in dynamic mode. But the truth is that there is plenty of grip coming from the quattro system. It still has the understeery nature that we had on the RS7, and therefore needs you to account for it when pushing the car around bends. There's also plenty of mid-range torque, meaning that you need to know exactly how much and when to go on the gas again when tackling corners. Gas it early and you will experience torque steer. Instead, just carry enough pace through the corner, and once you're pointing in the intended direction, then power out. There's hardly any body roll, the car remains flat, there's plenty of grip, so you can just power out of the turns at a real fast pace. And when you need it, the RS7 Performance also gives you its own little extra boost. The engine stores away up to 50 Nm of torque for those really demanding times. So while an already healthy 700 Nm is available between 1750 to 6000 RPM, an overboost function feeds an additional burst of torque to aid mid-range. The result is that the roll-on acceleration is quite quick too. 40 to 100 comes up in less than 3 seconds. So despite all these performance figures and those little droplets of fuel in the exhaust system to create those inviting crackling sounds, the RS7 is actually a clean car. In fact, it claims to be the cleanest of its lot, with a CO2 emissions of 221 grams per kilometer. That is provided you get the right kind of fuel. fuel quality will also make a lot of difference to the performance figures, which in themselves are only a marginal increment over the figures of the regular RS7 Sportback. In fact, in the real world, the incremental power doesn't make any noticeable gain over the RS7 Sportback. The Performance Edition then feels just as good or bad as the regular RS7. But what it does better is massage your ego and give you the bragging rights of owning a family car that has all the numbers that are usually the birthright of a supercar.